Right now, two completely different Americas exist under the same sky. One is being drenched. Storm systems are lining up across the east, flooding rivers, triggering flash flood watches, dominating the headlines. The other America is burning quietly, baking under a ridge of heat and dryness that almost no one is talking about. And the engine driving both of those realities at the same time is a single signal out in the Pacific Ocean. By the end of this documentary, you will understand why the storms flooding the east are not a contradiction to the drought expanding across the south. They are two sides of the same coin, and that coin has a name: El Niño. Stay with this, because what is happening right now is the setup for a much larger story that will unfold through summer and into fall. Let's start with what El Niño actually is, in plain terms. Normally, trade winds blow warm surface water westward across the tropical Pacific, piling it up near Australia and Indonesia. Cold water wells up near South America. That is the baseline. El Niño happens when those trade winds weaken. The warm water sloshes back eastward toward the central and eastern Pacific. The ocean surface temperature across a stretch of the tropics rises, sometimes by a degree or two above normal. That sounds small. It is not small. That much extra heat added to the largest ocean on Earth reorganizes how the atmosphere circulates across the entire planet. Scientists track El Niño strength using a specific patch of ocean called the Niño 3.4 region. It sits in the central equatorial Pacific, and its temperature anomaly, how far above or below normal it reads, is the number that defines whether El Niño is weak, moderate, or strong. When that number exceeds plus 1.5 degrees Celsius, you are in strong El Niño territory. The impacts on weather patterns become reliable. The teleconnections, the chains of cause and effect from the tropics to the mid-latitudes, start to lock in. As of the week of June 24, 2026, the Niño 3.4 index stands at plus 1.8 degrees Celsius. That is a strong El Niño. The Climate Prediction Center has issued an official El Niño advisory, and their forecast calls for this event to continue strengthening through the northern hemisphere winter of 2026 into 2027. The data shows this event is active right now, and it is growing. Here is what the global ocean looks like right now. The warm pool stretching across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific is not subtle. You can see it clearly, a broad tongue of anomalously warm water spanning thousands of miles along the equator. This is the canonical El Niño footprint, and at plus 1.8 degrees it has reached the magnitude where it reliably reshapes the jet stream across North America. The Pacific is not just warm, it is warm enough to matter. Zoom into the equatorial Pacific and the signal becomes even sharper. The regional sea surface temperature anomaly map shows the warm pool clearly defined, consistent with that plus 1.8 degree index reading. This is not noise. This is a coherent, organized pattern. The same pattern that sets off a chain of atmospheric responses reaching all the way to the Gulf states, the southern plains, and the American Southeast. Understanding what that chain looks like is the key to understanding everything that follows. When you place that much extra heat in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific, it changes where the atmosphere rises and sinks across the tropics. The extra warmth drives enhanced convection, thunderstorm activity, over the anomalously warm water. That rising air has to go somewhere. It spreads outward, flows poleward at high altitude, and eventually sinks in the subtropics. And when air sinks, it suppresses clouds, suppresses rain, and drives surface temperatures higher. That descending air tends to park itself right over the southern United States. That is the mechanism. That is how a warm Pacific turns into a hot, dry South. The atmosphere also responds by adjusting the jet stream, the river of fast-moving air in the upper atmosphere that steers weather systems across the continent. During a strong El Niño, the jet stream tends to amplify into a pattern that builds a ridge of high pressure over the southern tier of the country. Ridges are the opposite of storm tracks. Under a ridge, air subsides, moisture is suppressed, and heat builds. Meanwhile, storm systems get deflected north and east. The south does not get the rain. The northern tier and the east do. That split is not a coincidence, it is the physics. The latest CPC seasonal precipitation outlook shows exactly this pattern. Elevated probabilities of below-normal precipitation are leaning across the southern United States. This is not a weather forecast for next Tuesday. This is a probability outlook. the CPC's best estimate of where conditions are likely to run drier than normal over the coming season based on the current state of the climate system. The map leans dry across the south. That is the El Niño signal expressing itself in the seasonal statistics. And paired with that dryness is heat. The CPC seasonal temperature outlook shows elevated probabilities of above normal temperatures across the southern tier of the contiguous United States. The Gulf states, the southern plains, the southeast, the outlook leans warm. Again, this is a probability map, not a guarantee, but it reflects the classic El Niño summer fingerprint, a heat-suppressing, moisture-locking ridge that parks over the south even as the rest of the country sees active weather. The data shows the southern tier is in the bullseye. Here is where the story gets concrete. The current U.S. drought monitor, updated weekly based on observed conditions, is already showing the consequences of this pattern. Drought conditions are expanding or persisting across portions of the southern tier. This is not a forecast. This is an analysis of what has already happened on the ground: reduced rainfall, elevated temperatures, stressed soils. The drought is not theoretical. It is here. Look at this map carefully. The drought footprint is concentrated where the seasonal outlook said it would be, across the southern tier, where El Niño's subsidence signal suppresses Gulf moisture delivery. These are the regions where farmers are watching soil moisture decline, where rivers are running lower than normal, where fire weather conditions are building. While storm headlines dominate the news cycle elsewhere, this is what is happening here. Now here is the part of the story that makes the drought so easy to miss. While the south is quietly drying out, a very different pattern is playing out to the north and east. Storm systems are repeatedly organizing across the northern tier and the east, producing heavy rain, flooding, and severe weather. Those storms are news. They are dramatic. They generate video and coverage. The drought in the south is invisible on television because drought does not announce itself with a wall of wind and a wall of water. It just slowly tightens its grip. The current extended outlook from the Storm Prediction Center confirms this split. The pattern through the near term shows an active setup east of the Rockies, a moist air mass supporting repeated convection across the northern and eastern portions of the country. But look at what that pattern implies for the south. The same circulation that is fueling storms to the north is part of the broad ridge structure, keeping the southern tier locked under heat and dryness. The storm headlines are not contradicting the drought. They are the other side of the same atmospheric coin. This is the core paradox of a strong El Niño summer. The nation appears to be getting plenty of weather, storms, flooding, active convection. But that activity is geographically concentrated in the wrong places for the south. The moisture flowing into those eastern storm systems is bypassing the southern tier almost entirely, steered away by the same ridge that is building drought beneath the headlines. So who is actually affected by this? The southern tier drought does not hit everyone equally. Agriculture takes the first and hardest blow. Crops across the southern plains and Gulf states depend on summer rainfall at critical growth stages. When the rains fail, not dramatically, not in one catastrophic dry spell, but week after week of below normal precipitation under a persistent ridge, yields suffer. Soil moisture deficits compound, and once soil moisture is gone, it takes sustained rainfall over many weeks to restore it. Water supply is the second pressure point. Reservoirs and rivers across drought-affected areas of the south are already running below normal in some basins. Municipal water systems that rely on surface storage or river flows feel the squeeze. The deeper the drought goes before the fall, the more difficult the recovery becomes, and recovery is not guaranteed just because the calendar changes. Fire risk is the third dimension. Drought plus heat plus low humidity is the recipe for elevated wildfire danger. The southern tier has seen this combination before under El Niño conditions, and the current pattern is assembling the same ingredients. Dry fuels, hot afternoons, and low relative humidity create windows of high fire weather risk that expand as summer progresses and drought deepens. And there is a human health dimension that rarely gets the attention it deserves. Prolonged heat under a persistent ridge is not just uncomfortable, it is dangerous for the elderly, for outdoor workers, for communities without adequate cooling infrastructure. The heat signature the CPC temperature outlook shows across the southern tier is not an abstraction. It translates directly into heat index values that exceed safe thresholds on repeated days. That toll accumulates invisibly without the dramatic footage of floodwaters or tornado debris. Now let's talk about what comes next. This is the forward-looking portion of the story, and it is important to flag clearly. What follows is based on model projections and historical analogs, not confirmed data. These are possibilities, not certainties, but they are grounded in real science and real statistics, and they deserve to be taken seriously. The CPC projects that El Niño will continue strengthening through late summer into fall of 2026, potentially approaching and crossing the plus 2 degrees Celsius threshold in the Niño 3.4 region. If that strengthening occurs as projected, the atmospheric signal driving heat and dryness across the south would intensify. Models suggest the southern drought footprint could expand significantly into fall, and fall is historically one of the most drought-amplifying seasons under a strong El Niño. That projection is not a certainty, but it is what the data and the models are currently pointing toward. There is also a risk that is harder to see in the data but very real in practice. The current active storm pattern across the northern tier and east, while dramatic and newsworthy, may be masking early onset heat stress across the Gulf states that will become the dominant story by August. Models suggest that if the El Niño teleconnection locks in more fully as summer deepens, the ridge over the south could become more persistent and more intense. What is already hot and dry could get significantly hotter and drier. That is speculative, but it is a scenario that deserves preparation, not dismissal. And then there is the winter question. Historically, a strong El Niño winter favors a wet flip for the southern tier. The jet stream shifts south, storm tracks cross Texas, the Gulf states, and the southeast, and precipitation actually runs above normal. That is the good news side of the El Niño story, but that winter wet flip, if it comes, arrives months from now. Between now and then, the agricultural damage, the soil moisture deficits, the reservoir drawdowns, and the wildfire risk accumulated during a hot, dry summer and fall do not simply vanish when the rains return. The damage is real and it compounds. The winter relief, which is speculative at this point, does not undo a severe summer drought. Here is the full picture, pulled together. The Niño 3.4 index is at plus 1.8 degrees, a strong El Niño confirmed by observation. The global sea surface temperature maps show the canonical warm pool stretching across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific. The regional SST anomaly confirms the signal is coherent and organized. The CPC seasonal outlooks lean warm and dry across the southern tier, not guarantees but probability signals, grounded in the physics of how El Niño drives the atmospheric circulation. The drought monitor shows those probabilities are already materializing into real drought on the ground, and the extended weather pattern shows storms flooding the east while the south quietly bakes beneath the headlines. The hidden drought beneath the storm is not a metaphor. It is a measurable, mapped, documented climate signal that is easy to miss, precisely because the news cycle is dominated by the dramatic storms playing out to the north and east. El Niño does not create a single national story. It creates a split nation story, and right now the southern half of that split is being written in dry soil, stressed crops, and heat that builds day by day without a headline. If this story opened a window into how a single number from the Pacific reaches all the way to a farmer's field in Texas or a river gauge in Georgia, follow along. There is much more of this to track as summer deepens. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next chapter.